help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support drives us to create even more wonderful stories. Thanks for being part of our journey. In this video, it started with a lipstick stain on my office mug, but the real betrayal? It was waiting for me just 2 doors down, in my own company. I always drank my coffee black. No sugar, no cream, no nonsense. So when I saw a smudge of pink lipstick on the rim of my favorite office mug, my first instinct was confusion. It wasn't Clara's usual shade. Hers was always more neutral, barely there. This one was bold, hot pink. It stood out like a warning sign. I glanced around my office. The blinds were still closed from the night before. No sign of cleaning staff, no spilled coffee, just that lipstick, mocking me. I wiped it away with a tissue and told myself I was overthinking things, but then it happened again. 3 days later, same mug, different lipstick. This time it was red, not a deep red like Clara wears when we go out. No, this was bright, glossy, and cheap-looking. It didn't match her style at all. Still, I didn't say anything. I let it slide, because Clara had recently started working in my company. She said she wanted to understand what I deal with daily, and offered to help with HR while she was between jobs. At first, I thought it was sweet, supportive even, but slowly it started to feel invasive. The office was my space, my world, and suddenly, my wife was in it. Smiling too hard at morning meetings, laughing too easily at jokes from guys half my age. One of those guys was Tyler. Tyler had joined the company a month ago as a marketing intern, fresh out of college. Too confident for someone with no experience. But he had charm, the kind of charm that gets you free drinks at a bar and other men's wives to giggle like teenagers. I noticed how often Clara and Tyler ended up in the break room at the same time, how she complimented his ideas in meetings more than anyone else's, how he called her by her first name, while everyone else still said, "Mrs. Carter." I brushed it off, told myself they were just being friendly, until one Thursday afternoon. I walked into my office early from a conference call and found my door slightly ajar. Inside, Clara stood over my desk, sipping from my mug, with that same hot pink stain on the rim. She flinched when she saw me, laughed nervously. "I couldn't find a clean one in the kitchen," she said, but I didn't remember seeing her wear that shade of lipstick when she left the house that morning. I said nothing, just smiled, nodded, and let it go. But in my gut, something twisted. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just paranoia. Something was wrong. Very, very wrong. And I was about to find out just how deep the betrayal went. You think this was strange? Wait until you hear what James finds on the office cameras. Don't go anywhere. This next chapter flips everything on its head. Keep watching because everything changes in the next part. In the next chapter. The morning after the lipstick incident, James arrived at the office earlier than usual. He hadn't slept well. His mind kept circling that moment when Clara stood with his mug, that awkward smile, and the shade of lipstick that had no business being there. There was a knot in his stomach, a heavy, cold knot that wouldn't go away. He sat down at his desk, opened his laptop, and stared at the security system tab. The office had 3 cameras in total. One at the entrance, one overlooking the shared workspace, and one in the hallway near his office. Footage wasn't reviewed unless something was stolen or broken. But now, he had a different reason. He told himself he was being irrational, that there was probably nothing, but his gut whispered otherwise. He fast-forwarded through the footage from the previous afternoon, around the time he'd been in the conference room. Nothing unusual at first. People walking by, laughing, typing on laptops. Then, something flickered. At 3:47 p.m. The hallway camera glitched for less than a second. The screen went black and then jumped forward, just 2 frames missing, but enough to trigger his instinct. James froze the video, rewound it, played it again. This time he paused just before the glitch, and that's when he saw it. Clara, standing by his office door, and behind her, Tyler. He was leaning in, saying something in her ear. Too close. Way too close for a colleague. James zoomed in, trying to read her expression. She looked amused, playful, the kind of smile she used to give him when they were younger. He skipped forward to after the glitch. Both Clara and Tyler were gone, and the office door, his door, was now slightly open. James stared at the screen for what felt like an hour. His hands were shaking. Was this enough to confront her? No, not yet. He needed more. Something undeniable, because if he was wrong, he'd be destroying his marriage over a shadow. But if he was right, he had to be ready. He opened the drawer under his desk and pulled out a small box, one he kept for emergencies. Inside, a tiny, button-sized spy cam, the kind he'd ordered years ago for security presentations. He'd never actually used it until now. He looked around the office, then leaned forward and began installing it discreetly behind the photo frame on his desk, facing the door, silent, unseen. And just like that, the hunt began. If you think that camera was just a precaution, wait until you see what it catches. In the next part, James gets the footage he wasn't ready for. But you won't believe what else it reveals. Keep watching. What happens next will change everything. Coming up in the next chapter. Chapter 3, A Smile That Wasn't Meant for Him. James spent most of the night replaying the moment in his mind. Clara smiling at Tyler just a little too long, standing too close to his office door, and then disappearing during that camera glitch. The next morning, James arrived before anyone else again. Determined to test the spy cam he'd installed, he opened his laptop, synced the footage, and hit play. His heart pounding with every passing second. The footage from the previous day loaded slowly. He focused on the time frame between 3:30 and 4:00 p.m. He watched people walk in and out of the hallway like clockwork. Then, right around 3:46 p.m., Clara appeared again. She was alone at first. She looked around, adjusted her blouse, then knocked lightly on his office door, her own husband's office, but he wasn't in it. Seconds later, Tyler showed up in frame. He was laughing at something on his phone, and when Clara saw him, she smiled. But not the kind of smile she ever gave James anymore. It was flirtatious, relaxed, private, the kind of smile that had meaning, the kind of smile that should belong to someone's partner. Tyler leaned in, whispered something, and Clara nudged his arm playfully. Then she pushed open James's office door, and both of them walked in together. The door closed behind them. James froze the footage, his fists clenched. They stayed in that room for 37 minutes. When the door finally opened, Clara stepped out first, brushing her hair behind her ears, adjusting her necklace. Tyler came out a moment later, pulling down his sleeves. No kiss, no touch, but their faces said enough. James felt the blood drain from his face. He couldn't move for a moment, staring at the frozen frame of his wife walking away from the door of the place that was supposed to be sacred. His office, the only space he considered fully his, and she'd brought him there. Of all places, he knew he couldn't jump to conclusions, even though every part of him already had. He needed confirmation, concrete, undeniable. He clicked to schedule a software update for the spy cam, this time with audio recording, and then he did something he hadn't done in months. He called in sick. He needed time to think, and most of all, he needed to see what she would do if he wasn't there. You think you've seen betrayal before? Wait until you hear what the hidden mic picks up next. Don't go anywhere, because the next chapter has a twist that flips everything upside down. Coming up next. James spent the next morning pretending to sip coffee while his eyes fixated on the motion alerts coming from his hidden security app. He had activated the upgraded version of the camera, now with full audio, and had set it to auto-record when it detected any movement or sound above a whisper. It wasn't just about suspicion anymore. It was about truth. At exactly 3:47 p.m., the alert popped up, movement detected in Office 14. James's heart raced as he tapped into the live feed from his car parked across the street, hands trembling slightly. The image loaded. Clara. She entered his office again, alone. But within seconds, Tyler followed. He didn't even knock. He just walked in like he owned the place. James leaned in, volume up. Clara spoke first. James isn't coming today. Tyler chuckled. Lucky us. Then silence. Too long. Too deliberate. Shuffling. A chair creaking. Breathing close and quick. Then Clara's voice again. Quieter. Almost intimate. Do you ever feel guilty? James froze. He held his breath, hanging on every word. Was this it? The confession? Tyler's voice was calm. Not when I know what I want. Then Clara, whispering, "Me too." A sound followed, a zip. James jerked away from the screen, suddenly overwhelmed. He didn't want to believe what his ears just heard, but he also couldn't deny it. He paused the feed, his own reflection staring back at him in the black screen. His office, his wife, his coworker. This wasn't just cheating. This was desecration. Inside the space where he built his career, where he stayed up late building client proposals to provide a better life for her. But what Clara said next changed everything. "I don't think I can keep doing this here," she said. James's ears perked. Was she pulling away? Tyler replied quickly, "Then don't." A beat, he added, "Move in with me." Silence. James's heart stopped. Then Clara said, "Let me think about it." The world inside James's chest collapsed. Not only was she betraying him, she was considering leaving him entirely, and with him, the man who shook his hand at company retreats, the man he trained himself. James shut the laptop. He didn't need to hear more. He needed to decide what kind of man he would be now. But he didn't know that someone else had also overheard that recording. Someone who would change everything. You won't believe who else finds out about the affair in the next part. This is where things explode, and not in the way you expect. Stay with us for the next chapter. It only gets more intense. Coming up next. James didn't sleep that night, not because of the video, but because of the knock on the door the next morning. It wasn't Clara. It wasn't Tyler. It was Lauren, James's assistant. She stood in the doorway, eyes wide, holding a flash drive in her trembling hand. "I think you need to see this," she whispered. He motioned for her to come in. Confused, cautious, heart pounding. Lauren had worked under him for 3 years. Loyal, quiet, efficient, never crossed a line. She plugged in the drive, and with a flicker, her screen lit up with something James didn't expect. Hidden footage, not from his camera, from hers. Lauren had accidentally recorded Clara and Tyler once in the break room weeks ago. She never meant to, she said. She had set up a discreet cam after noticing her coffee was being stolen daily. But what she saw, what she captured, was far worse than any stolen latte. In the video, Clara laughed as she threw her arms around Tyler from behind, whispering something into his ear. Then she said, "He doesn't even suspect a thing." Tyler smirked. "He's too busy playing boss. We'll drain him slowly." James's skin went cold. This wasn't just betrayal. This was manipulation. This was a plot. Lauren paused the video. "There's more," she said, "but I didn't want to watch it alone." James turned toward her, his hands clenched into fists. "How long have you known?" Lauren hesitated. "About a month, but I didn't know how to tell you. And I think they're trying to get you fired." James sat back, stunned. "Fired?" Lauren nodded. "They're building a case against you, using HR. They're twisting things, meetings, contracts, saying you were mismanaging the budget." James's heart raced. This wasn't just about infidelity now. They were after everything. His marriage, his job, his reputation, and he had no idea how deep the plan went. But one thing was certain. Clara was not the woman he married. And Tyler wasn't just a homewrecker. He was a thief in a suit, and James had been blind. Lauren looked him in the eyes. "What are you going to do?" James stared at the paused frame of Clara, smiling into the camera. "I'm going to play their game," he said, "but I'll write the final move. You're not going to want to miss what James does next. He's done watching. He's about to act. And it's going to be ruthless. Stick around for the next part. It's where the real game begins." Coming up next. James knew that if he reacted now, he'd lose. They were still watching him, still measuring every move, every glance. So he did the one thing they never expected. He played dumb. He smiled at Clara at breakfast. He kissed her cheek and asked if she wanted wine that night. He walked into the office as if he hadn't watched her betrayal play out frame by frame. But inside, James was calculating. He wasn't just angry anymore. He was focused, precise, determined to make them fall on their own sword. Step 1 was HR. If Tyler and Clara were building a case against him, he had to get ahead of it. He booked a meeting with Olivia, his company's HR director, and someone he'd helped promote years ago. He didn't mention Clara or Tyler, not yet. Instead, he brought up something he noticed. Someone had edited the company's Q3 budget projections, and it wasn't him. Olivia raised an eyebrow. James dropped a casual line. I think someone's planning something. I just want to make sure it doesn't come back on me. She promised to look into it, but James already knew what she'd find. Lauren had slipped him internal emails Clara and Tyler had sent under a shared alias. Adjusting forecasts, reassigning funds, covering their trail. They were stupid, greedy, and careless. Step 2 was bait. That night, James told Clara he had a surprise client dinner out of town next Thursday. He even left an accidental hotel reservation email open on his screen. She didn't ask questions, just smiled and nodded. The trap was set, and it was only a matter of time before Clara stepped right into it. But what James didn't expect was who else would fall with her. You won't believe what happens when James' plan begins to unravel, because someone he trusted is about to betray him even deeper than Clara did. Keep watching. You're getting closer to the shocking truth that changes everything. Coming up next. James stared at the empty wine glass across the table, pretending to be fully engaged in the client dinner that wasn't actually happening. His phone vibrated once in his jacket pocket, then again, and again. He kept talking, nodding at the imaginary details of a deal he had no intention of making, but inside, he was burning with adrenaline. Clara had taken the bait. Back at home, Sheedy told James she had a late meeting with the marketing team, but James had left a tiny camera hidden in their bedroom lamp, one that synced directly to his phone. He excused himself from the restaurant and walked calmly to his car. Then he opened the live stream. There she was, Clara, sitting on the edge of their bed, wearing the red silk robe he had bought her for their 5th anniversary. And next to her, buttoning his shirt, was Tyler. They weren't whispering. They weren't being careful. They laughed. Tyler made a joke about how easy it was to trick James. Clara laughed harder and said, "He's too obsessed with being the good guy to ever see it coming." James clenched his jaw but didn't look away. But then something changed. The laughter stopped. Clara's face shifted. Serious, almost cold. She pulled out her phone, opened a text thread. It wasn't with Tyler. It was with someone else. The messages were short, sharp, chilling. He suspects something. Tonight is the last test. After that, we proceed. Tyler looked at her and asked, "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Clara didn't blink. Yes, he ruined everything. Now it's time to take it all. James's heart skipped. What the hell were they talking about? This wasn't just a simple affair anymore. This was something deeper, darker, planned. And then Clara said the one sentence that nearly made James drop his phone. "By Monday, he'll be out of the company, out of the house, and out of my life, forever." But she wasn't done. "And he still doesn't know what you and I found in his old safe." James froze. What safe? He hadn't touched that thing in years. And now, it might be the key to everything. What did Clara and Tyler find in James's old safe that made them confident enough to destroy him? Who else is involved in this plan? And how deep does it go? Don't stop now. The real storm is just beginning. Coming up next. The moment James arrived home, he went straight to the basement. There, behind old shelves and boxes of college memorabilia, was the rusted steel safe Clara thought he'd forgotten. He hadn't. His father had given it to him when he turned 21. It had always felt out of place in their modern house. Heavy, clunky, a relic of the past. But now, it might hold the answer to the trap being set around him. He entered the 6-digit code from memory. The lock clicked. The door creaked open. Inside was only one item. A black leather folder. He opened it and stared. Photographs. Dozens of them. Old, printed, real photographs from years ago. Clara, Tyler, and someone else. A man he didn't recognize. Some were taken in an office. Others in hotel rooms. All dated. All before James and Clara even got married. Then a document slid out. A notarized contract. James's name. Clara's name. Tyler's name. And the name of a company James didn't recognize. Nova Strategies Inc. The contract stated that 49% of shares from James's original business were to be transferred. In the event of moral breach or hidden criminal activity. What? James reread the clause. Then his eyes widened. This wasn't a trap. This was a setup that began before they were even married. Clara had entered his life with a plan. Tyler wasn't just a fling. He was a business partner. And that unknown man in the photos? James flipped one over. On the back, written in black ink, to Clara, for the plan love, Victor Black, the corporate shark who tried to buy out James's company 5 years ago, and disappeared without a trace. Now it all connected. Clara had used him to get close to the company. Tyler was her inside man, and the safe had evidence they never meant for James to see. But now he had it, and they had no idea. At least, he hoped they didn't, because just then, a text popped up on his phone. From an unknown number. You opened the safe. You have 1 hour to return what's inside. Or the next picture sent will be of your daughter. James's blood ran cold. He didn't have a daughter, unless... No, couldn't be, could it? A plan years in the making. A daughter he never knew existed. And a threat that just became personal. What will James do next? And who's really pulling the strings? You're not going to want to miss what's coming next, because the next chapter will leave you questioning everything. Coming up, James stood frozen, the phone shaking in his hand. He stared at the message again, reading each word slowly, hoping he had misunderstood. But it was clear. They were threatening a daughter he didn't even know existed. He dropped to his knees, breathing heavily. His mind raced back through every memory with Clara. Had she been pregnant before the wedding? Had she lied? Hidden a child from him all these years? He quickly opened the last photo in the text thread. It was a blurry snapshot. A girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old, sitting in a classroom, brown curls, hazel eyes. His eyes. James's heart clenched. It was like staring at a ghost of his younger self. He tried calling the number. It didn't ring. Straight to voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. He rushed upstairs and opened Clara's drawer. Letters, drawings, one crumpled photo hidden under a pile of receipts made his blood run cold. It was the same girl, this time with Clara. Her hand rested protectively on the child's shoulder. The photo was dated 6 years ago. He dropped the picture, his hands trembling. Clara had a child, and she had hidden her for nearly a decade. But why? And then another message popped up. You have 45 minutes. Bring the folder to the red warehouse at Dock 17. Come alone. Or she disappears forever. James didn't wait. He grabbed the folder, stuffed it in his coat, and stormed out of the house. The rain had started falling again, harder this time. The night was closing in. As he drove toward the dockyard, his thoughts spiraled. What kind of person was Clara? What kind of monster hides a child from her own husband? But the real question wasn't just why Clara hid the girl. It was why the others wanted her now. What role did the child play in this web of betrayal? And most chillingly, was James ever meant to find out? Don't even think about clicking away now. Everything is about to explode in the final chapter. What's waiting for James at Dock 17? And who's pulling the last string? Keep watching, because the next part will change everything you thought you knew. Coming up, the warehouse loomed over the dock like a beast waiting to devour. James parked the car, rain battering his windshield like a ticking clock counting down the end of something. He checked the folder again, the one they demanded, filled with Clara's corporate documents, account statements, and one paper with a blacked-out name circled in red. He tucked it under his arm and stepped out into the storm. Inside, the air was thick with damp and dust. The flickering lights cast shadows that moved like ghosts. James called out, "Where is she?" His voice cracked, but steady. A silhouette stepped forward from the far side of the warehouse. It wasn't who he expected. It wasn't a thug. It was Clara. She looked different, colder, sharper. Behind her, standing nervously, was the little girl, eyes wide, clutching a worn stuffed animal. She looked terrified. James froze. Clara spoke first. "You shouldn't have come." There was no warmth. No regret. Just exhaustion. James's voice trembled. "She's mine, isn't she?" Clara looked away. No, she whispered. Silence fell like a bomb. James's knees buckled. But he didn't fall. He just stared. You lied to me. Again. Clara's jaw tightened. I never wanted to. I was protecting her. From who? He demanded. From you, said another voice behind him. James turned. A man emerged from the shadows, tall, clean-cut, wearing the same watch James had lost 5 years ago in a business trip accident. The world tilted. The man looked exactly like James. Carbon copy. Clara stepped toward them. This is Daniel. James blinked. My twin brother, the man said quietly. James staggered back. He had no twin, or so he thought. Clara's lips trembled. I met him when you were in the hospital. He said he was you. I didn't know the truth until it was too late, and when I did, I couldn't lose you both. James stared at Daniel, at the girl, at the folder. Everything clicked. The red-circled name was his own, but with the middle name he never used. Daniel had stolen his identity, his life, and Clara was caught in the crossfire. Tears ran down James's cheeks. He wasn't just betrayed by his wife. He was betrayed by blood. But the worst part? The girl stepped forward slowly and hugged James. She whispered, Daddy? James froze. Then, Clara said the final words that crushed everything. She thinks you're her father. She doesn't know him. James looked at Daniel and saw the guilt, the love, the confusion. Then, sirens blared outside. Someone had called the police. Daniel's face drained of color. He ran. James didn't chase him. He just held the girl. And for the first time in 10 chapters, everything was finally quiet. But in the silence, one question burned. Would he raise the daughter that was never his, as if she was? If this ending caught you off guard, let us know in the comments. Would you forgive Clara? And would you tell the child the truth? Type your answer below, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking real-life inspired stories.